Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 495. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
Just like a prayer, I'll take you there.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero.
Yo, yo, yo.
And Brett Murdoch.
What up, people?
All right, you already know, back with another one. All right, I'll say this now, and I'll say it again halfway through the show. Even though halfway through the show might be 15 minutes from now. We'll see. We only got a couple questions, handful, I should say. So if you got any more gaming questions for us, let us know now or forever hold your peace and all that good jazz. Again, I'm just reading these in order here, so I don't know if there's going to be any themes tonight, but we shall see.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, Kiss Shack starts us off. Are evil playthroughs of games not as rewarding gameplay story-wise compared to being a good guy? I played many CRPGs, and I've never been tempted to do an evil playthrough because being good offers better rewards throughout the game. It's a good question. I actually kind of, in my experience, I agree with that. Because like you want to play as a bad guy, but then when you play as a good guy, oh, you actually get more rewards. You get more. They give you more shit. I'm like, I wish it would be better balanced. You know what I mean? So you get equally good rewards. But Brett, I definitely want your take on this. I know you like playing as a bad guy.
I love evil playthroughs. They're my favorite.
Yeah, but what do you think about the fact that, do you feel that way, that you don't get as many rewards compared to like the good playthrough?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you're kind of going for, I don't want to say realism, but more balance, like the bad thing should probably offer better rewards.
Yeah.
But there's some games that have kind of balanced it right. And a lot of times, like, the thing you get for the bad rewards is more like, you know, the stuff that you're going for anyway. So, you know, that's helpful. Also, good games like CRPGs like Baldur's Gate, I'd be like, hey, do you want that weapon? Well, you got to kill that person. Is there a better way? Nope, not really. You're going to have to do some devious shit if you want that. So that's always my bigger beef, honestly, than the quest balance reward is like the ham-fisted moral narrative of most of the stuff. Like, do you want to like help this villager or murder this puppy? And you're like, those are my two choices? Well, I don't really want to do the puppy murdering thing, but I'm going to steal from everybody. And they're like, oh, yeah, you can steal from everybody and still be good. I'm like,
well, and also there's some games that put those choices in certain colors. Like one is blue, one is red. So it's like sort of guiding you that way as well.
You're never really fully evil when it comes to a lot of those games. You're just kind of like mean good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're still sort of doing the right thing. You're just doing it in a more assholey way, you know?
Yeah, you're gonna do the right thing, but in a smart-ass way. Like, I like how Mass Effect did it, right? Full renegade. 100%.
Yeah, but I'm glad you brought up Mass Effect, because I feel that's the game where it's like, hey, you get more rewards when you play as the good guy, even though playing as the bad guy is more fun, you know?
Yeah.
But you're right, it does feel like in Mass Effect where it's the same Shepard, it's just the bad guy version is like, oh, he woke up on the wrong side of the bed that day. You know?
He's a little bit more of an asshole. Like my issue with it is not the other thing, is that if you decide to just sort of play the way you sort of want to play,
yeah,
like,
you really don't get anything good. You know?
Yeah, you don't get anything because like you have to pick one side, because it's like, okay, this one moment, you know, I don't like this fucker, I'm gonna shoot him in the head. That's it, because he's being a dick, you know. But you can't. It doesn't really reward any of that. You have to literally, like, you're either a good route, you're the bad route.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Like, yes, being evil, specifically at Mass Effect, doesn't reward as much as good, but it rewards you a lot more than if you're just waffling around, you know? If you go pure evil, you will get stuff. What's up, Chris?
No, I agree with that. Like, I went full Paragon in Mass Effect, except there was only one mission where that motherfucker in that building, I shot him in the face. I shot him out that. I was like, nah, fuck it. I'm not walking away from this. I'm not forgiving this.
That's funny, man.
But everything else, because I wanted to make sure that I kept the team aligned. So Paragon, it was easier to
Yeah,
diffuse situations.
exactly. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like if you go with the evil one, it's like, yo, half my team is dead. You
Oh
know?
yeah, they kill each other, or you kill them, or
Yeah,
something.
it's like, yo, I like all these motherfuckers are dead right now. You know? But again, you do have some fun when you're evil. You punching that reporter in the face all the time. Or in Mass Effect 2, you're going through the building, this guy's talking shit, so you just push him out a window and he dies. It's like,
Yeah.
damn. But punching the reporter, you can't get away with that in the games anymore. You know? Hilarious. Yo, Carlos, you got anything you want to interject here?
Not as much. Just only I don't really play as the evil person or quote unquote what the stereotypical evil person would do. Because I mean, when you play a game, when I play a game, I just try to do whatever I think I would do. Like I guess that's the whole point of role playing. Like if you're trying to get into a situation that they would put yourself into, so I would just kind of normally do what I think I would do if I was put into that world. I wouldn't really think about, oh, is it the rewards gonna be better if I take this path? I don't really think about that when I play games.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, moving on here. Another one from Kishak. With Paramount not renewing the Halo TV show, is the Halo IP still salvageable, or has the IP degraded so much it would take a miracle to revive it? We've been saying this for years. This franchise needs to go on a vacation, a long vacation, you know, and they need to figure out some way of making it viable because, you know, how that Call of Duty exists. Remember how for years it was always like people were trying to make the Halo killer. Then the Halo killer turned out to be Call of Duty, and it wasn't even trying to kill Halo. It just did it naturally, you know. Remember Killzone was supposed to be a Halo killer. Halo was
Haze.
like, yeah, Haze, another one. It was a long time where everybody was trying to outdo Halo, but Halo kind of got left behind, and it feels like archaic compared to like modern first-person shooters. But again, this is something we've been talking about on this show for fucking a long time. It's like Halo, you need to be put on ice because it ain't working, and people aren't like, you know, missing the franchise or anything. At least with the games, you know. Real quick, a scene yo Deke on YouTube with $1. Appreciate that.
Yo, thank you.
But yeah, what do you guys think? Chris, you know, you like Halo. Carlos, you go next. I know you like Halo too. Chris, what do you think of Halo? Should it go on a break?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Infinite is a disappointment. The show is trash. Like I shed no tears for this fucking show. That's fucking garbage. So screw that shit. I didn't care. I was like 2 seasons was too much.
Yeah,
Too much. It like there's no way. Like Microsoft did better with like those short like DVD specials like The Fall of Reach and the little animated ones. They kind of did an animatrix with Halo. Those type of things were good. Right? But Halo's kind of fallen off. It needs a fucking break. You're absolutely right. But that show is trash. I don't even count that shit. Like I don't even want to think about it. So as far as I'm concerned, that's as trash to me as fucking modern Star Trek.
Oh shit!
Garbage.
Oh man, Carlos, what do you think? I know you were Mr. Halo back in the day.
Yeah, I feel like it needs to be put on ice. I mean, I know the video game they probably can't just because they feel compelled and they have a studio that's only dedicated to make a game, to make a Halo game. So it's not like they're just gonna put them on ice too. Yeah, so I think as far as a TV series, I don't even know why we need one, especially when the protagonist is someone that's not, you know, I mean, he's kind of boisterous, but he's not like that much of a character. You know, Master Chief is just kind of like, you know, cool guy, kill people. And it's like, let me finish this fight, Cortana, and all that stuff. There's not much depth into him. Like the reason why you create these TV shows is to, you know, create depth into the characters, and no one really cares about seeing what he looks like. Like that's not the point of Master Chief in Halo.
Yo, not only do you see his face cheeks, but you also see his ass cheeks.
Oh,
Exactly. Well, there's no point. There's no, you know, Like, no, in the video games, do they make even inkling about him about his sexual life? Like, I'm pretty sure the TV show would try to do that stuff.
Yeah. Well, in the TV show, he fucks. You know, people are like, "What the hell is this?" You know.
Yeah. So I just feel like there's really no need for Halo TV show. I can understand. I mean, like Chris mentioned, the Fall of Reach. That as I think about it like as an OVA kind of type of thing that would be kind of cool. But I never really thought about it as a live action. I just feel like it would take too much money to make to justify that type of a movie / TV show. And I don't feel like anybody is good enough to make it that would be willing to make a video game like that or a movie.
I would
like
just
that.
counter that with the budget for these 2 seasons of this show, probably way more than a singular movie that you could portray Reach. I agree with you, except that I think a guy like Neil Blomkamp could have done that movie.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
District 9 guy?
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe he does have some pedigree when it comes to that type of stuff. Just doing sci-fi in general. I don't know. I mean, that would be an interesting one. I mean, honestly, obviously, and Tony, you saw this article with Christopher Nolan. I don't know if it was rumors or legit, but Christopher Nolan could do it. But but he wouldn't do a Halo show.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he'll just do like an executive producer type of thing if he likes it. But I don't think he would. I mean, if they said, "Hey, Christopher Nolan is doing a Halo movie," I'm all in. I don't need to ask any questions. I don't care what the movie's about. It's Christopher freaking Nolan. If Denis made it, there's if freaking James Cameron did it, you got some directors that obviously have a track record that is to be respected. But this whole thing with making a TV show on Paramount because they have the Halo IP and Paramount streaming services is now a thing, so we need to put as much content on it as they can. So that's why a Halo show exists in the first place, because they couldn't make a Halo show for the past like 2 decades. So yeah, it's just I honestly I don't think there's any possible way for them to make a Halo show in the environment that Microsoft and Paramount and these types of companies are trying to make a live action show or movie. I just feel like there's just no way they can do it.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. All right. Foolish pupil. It seems like they just need to focus on making a good Halo game instead of making it the next better installment. Yeah, I don't think 343 should be making those games anymore, man. They haven't proved anything, at all.
Yeah,
I'll go ahead, Manny.
No, I mean, I definitely agree with that. Where it's like, I feel like 343 hasn't. To be honest, they need to sort of do what the guys at Gears of War did. They need to sort of decide to go back to formula and really go back, and, remind themselves what a Halo game is. Every single outing seems to be like, what was their first outing? Essentially, just was it Halo 3?
Not 343. I think the first one wasn't it 4?
It was 4 with Spartan Locke, right?
Yeah.
Spartan Locke was 5.
Yeah, so
Spartan Locke was that 5.
Spartan Locke was 5.
So I'll give you the chronology of it. It's Halo Combat Evolved, which is Bungie. Yep. Halo Bungie. 2, Halo 3, ODST, Reach, all of them Bungie until Bungie. Then they went to Halo 4, and that was 343's first.
What was the deal in 4 that wasn't such a good? Oh, that was the one that had all the issues where they literally fired Ryan Payton and a bunch of other people off of the project and had to restart over again, wasn't it?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that was the one. So anyway, I think a lot of this situation is them not being able to distill what was Halo. You know what I mean? And sort of working from there and then trying to figure out what the future is. A lot of it seems to be like, it just doesn't seem to be catching it. Like definitely like, the Spartan Locke one when they're like, okay, we kind of want to get rid of Master Chief. We want to sort of insert a new guy. because because there's no expectations on him, but I think I think in general that they need to do what the Halo 4 should have been. What it should have been like essentially a Halo game that was very close to the previous ones, but didn't, obviously pushes the story forward, but just essentially takes that archetype and essentially buffs it up to its highest sheen. That's what that next one should have been, and then they work from that.
I mean, like, I got a question. Like lore wise, is there a reason Master Chief needs to be confined to like a body? Like, nobody knows who Master Chief is, do they? Like, at a certain point, like, could there just be like an AI? Like, is it an AI system that's downloaded into like several different bodies, or is it like a program? Like nobody knows. It could
he's a guy.
I mean, we know that he's a guy, but that's kind of all that we know. And like, I feel like that could be adjusted. Like Doom Guy is a guy, and like that's not a problem for Doom games. And I know that there's more lore in Halo, and I get that. Go ahead.
But Doom Guy, but the power of the Doom Guy, and just like the power of Master Chief, who's sort of like Doom Guy-esque, is the mystery of what he looks like. If you remember the last game, they don't show you what Doom Guy looks like, even though you have little pictures of him and stuff like that. But he's always just the helmet. I feel like once you
Doom Eternal, they show him.
Oh, they do. They show the dude. Okay, but I mean, to be honest, the guy behind the helmet doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, it's kind of I guess where I'm going.
It's just the mystery of that character that is the deal. But but I mean, like, obviously Master Chief is what we call the badass vector, right? Like, you're stepping into this badass guy you haven't seen the face of, so he's sort of you, maybe not you, and he just says awesome one-liners. But it's always the world around him that has all the really cool development,
Yeah, I guess the whole point with this, Brett, is with at least with Master Chief's concerned, he's the last of his kind. Everyone that was, so that's the whole purpose of him, and he does have a name. I think it was like John something.
John Smith.
There's novels, yeah.
Okay, and I'm actually curious about this, and we don't have a whole lot of questions. So, like, what do you mean he's the last person? Like, is he like a military experiment? I'm genuinely curious here.
No, he's the last of that character.
The whole Spartan
type of character.
Was a program by the United Earth Military. What I forgot, the UNSC. It wasn't they were making super soldiers, right? So they took these kids and they fucking pumped them with drugs and put cybernetics in them and all sorts of shit to breed the Spartans. And they were this elite team, these elite soldiers. They all had power armor and AIs assigned to them and all this stuff. And they were treated horribly. Like, they were from childhood. They were pumped with drugs, had cybernetics put in them, trained. Some of them died in the program. And it was all run by this lady. I forgot her name. I think she's in the games.
Yeah, she's in Reach, I'm pretty sure. And then
she's in Reach. Yeah. So he's the last surviving Spartan. They've all died in combat or for various reasons.
I'm the last one.
All right.
But I think he's also the last one in a lot of ways too. Like, he's the last. He's also one of the last of that type of protagonist too. The faceless protagonist.
Yeah.
And also,
I guess he really is.
The whole thing with this game, I don't know. I feel like over time I just got a different perspective over Halo. I just feel like they can't. Most video game franchises, evolve into something or they die. Fallout was not a 3D game until it was a 3D game, and then it flourished. Grand Theft Auto, sort of the similar thing, it was like a top-down game. Now there's a 3D game, and then even God of War, even people who don't like it, but it's still it became a massive success as its new iteration. And they've all evolved. I feel like most of those franchises, if they stayed the same, they would have died for the most part.
Yeah.
And Halo, it feels like they're just trying to recapture the essence of a 2000s game.
Yeah.
and it's just there's just nothing that screams like they're trying to evolve. It's more like, hey, we're gonna do the same Halo stuff, but we'll make it as sort of like a type of service game like everyone else does. And it just doesn't. It seems like it doesn't fit. Like there's really no purpose. You're just getting the Halo cash cow, which is diminishing by a lot. It's not making as much money as they used to, and they're just trying to throw it back out. It's like the dude who only has like 5 hits and has a whole career out of singing those same 5 hits for the next 40 years. And I feel like that's what Halo's become. It doesn't really stand anywhere or differentiate itself from the competition anywhere as a video game. It's just there because we need a new Halo game. Gears is kind of the same way too. It's really similar to that, but Gears, the thing that Gears has is it's a little bit newer than Halo is, and the games, even though they're kind of the same, they're even better. They're better than what Halo is doing. So that they don't get as much flack, but they're going the same direction.
Well, even Gears can kind of go generationally or kind of like a timeline, like Master Chief and a lot of Halo. Like, well, I disagree. Well, I agree with everything that you say. I don't disagree with any of it. I kind of want to propose the alternative here that, like, Halo didn't leave itself a lot of room to grow or evolve either. Like, you've tied yourself to a single protagonist. How many times can John Everyman save the world? You know what I mean? Like, it kind of reminds me of the movie that they were making inside Tropic Thunder, where it was Ben Stiller's character like saving the world, like number 7. Like at a certain point, like
Exploder.
Yeah, something like that. Like it was at a certain point, like it becomes kind of ridiculous unless you're telling a big long serialized story, and that's why even like a lot of like series or books or things like that, they'll kind of, if they're going to do that, they'll break into big arcs or trilogies or things like that. They're not trying to tell a big story every single time. Sometimes it's sewed into part of a bigger story or something like that, but you're not getting that with I think a Halo game. And it's tried. God knows it's tried, but it's always just kind of a rehash of the same story, is it? I mean, like, am I wrong here?
Not completely, but in a way, yes, because Bungie, Halo ODST and Halo Reach did not have Master Chief in it, and they were successful games. Halo 5 didn't have Master Chief in it, so a substantial amount of the last couple of games, Halo games, haven't actually had Master Chief and told other stories. Halo Reach was a success because not only was Bungie making it, who's the best people at making Halo, but the story was incredible, and people were captivated by the story. Same thing, Halo ODST kind of changed the way Halo was played. It was just it felt like a different franchise in a way, but with essence of what Halo is. But now with a 343 studio, it's like we've handpicked this studio and handpicked all the developers and creatives to make what we used to make, and that it's like giving a fucking Konami the Metal Gear license, which they have, and they're like, hey, make a Metal Gear Solid game. Make Metal Gear Solid 6. How the hell is that going to work?
Yeah, well, the only way to do that is really to recenter yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of have to make sort of a somewhat take the idea of Halo, maybe take a lot of things that are familiar about Halo and continue the story and essentially do, like I said, the polished version of whatever you could do. What does that even mean? That could also be making a remake, and I think that's what the aim for Konami is. They're taking a game that is a well-known game, the pretty arguably the first in the sort of franchise, and essentially reminding themselves as to what a Metal Gear game is. And then I think once they gone through with the line of those games, then they'll come in with a new one for Halo. And I think the smart thing, even with Gears of War, is that they're going back. They're going back to a point where in the story, obviously, it's a point in the story you don't even need to really know, because everything you need to know about Emergence Day or E-Day is pretty much told throughout all the films, right? I mean, not the other games, sorry. But I think that's what they need. They need to remind themselves what Gears of War is in order to find out what the future of Gears of War is. And I think that's also sort of what needs to happen with them, with Halo. It needs whether that means, doing a remake of an older Halo game, or essentially just doing a prequel game that fits within some of the other ones. So we're like, okay, what do we have around us? What are the walls? Okay, this is what we do when we make these games. But I also think the biggest issue might be also with the Halo franchise and the Gears of War franchise is the fact that there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. When it was just Bungie and it was just Epic, there was just those guys that made those games. Now you have a committee that says, "Oh no, we don't want that. Oh, you can't do that." Like stuff like that. So, there's even reports on this last Halo game. They only really got it in shape like not long before it even came out. What does that tell you? It tells you that there's a lot of issues.
By the way, Metal Gear is another franchise that reinvented itself multiple times.
Yeah.
Throughout.
Because Kojima understood what a Metal Gear game was, right? And then he understood what it needed to iterate. That's why the later games became about Big Boss and all that stuff, right?
You know what really bothers me about this whole thing is that I think it's just another letdown of 343, but like, goddamn, if Halo doesn't already have a front row seat as kind of the spokesman for the goddamn console in and of itself, like it could be used to showcase system power. Like it should be a showcase and a testament to the things that this console is able to accomplish. It should be a sales pitch to developers to come to the console and make things. Its value is so much more than simply the amount of times downloaded or the amount of times the game was bought. There is so much here that is brand representation that this should still be one of the best looking games available. Full stop. The same way Spider-Man is. Like, Spider-Man cost a shitload of money, and did they necessarily make all that money back? It's close, but I don't think so. But again, like that's showcasing to developers and the public the things that your platform is capable of, especially on a closed system like that.
Well, that's what and I think that's the biggest thing that's happened this year with a lot of the not this year, but with this generation of consoles, with the exception of Spider-Man, obviously, the first Spider-Man that released on the thing was a game that was from the previous generation, right? So there was no real showcase until Ratchet and Clank released. And same with Halo, with the Microsoft, what did they release with? And then when Halo finally released, it was really just a whole lot of meh. Which is insane to me, because yes, you are totally right. You need that title to say, okay, to people, this is why you own this thing, or this is why you should develop for this thing.
By the way, Spider-Man, be careful, man. Spider-Man is another one of those games that has is in trouble to be going the way of the Halos if it doesn't reinvent itself.
Yeah,
I feel like it's got another game like this, because we got Spider-Man 2018, we got Miles Morales, and we got Spider-Man 2, which are kind of pretty much the same game except different bosses and stuff. I feel like they have one more left to do the same thing, but if the one after that is the same thing, then that cash cow is gone.
I agree.
Yeah.
By the way, real quick regarding the Halo, because I only played the first 4 games, but even when I was playing with Carlos, it's like, oh, we're doing the Flood again. They kept repeating that shit. So, I don't know.
Well, that's what I meant. Like,
yeah.
and like, you know, I didn't play Reach, and I only played a little bit of ODST. Like it's always been some iteration of the Flood, hasn't it?
Kind of. At least the games I played is like, oh, here's the Flood
Only-
again. You know, here
Only
we go.
the mainline Halo games.
Yeah, in the mainline games, yeah. Like, oh, here's the Flood.
Yo, Tony.
Yeah.
Remember when we were playing and you would get those you would get on those consoles and it would glitch the game?
Yeah. It's
Yo, man, I didn't know Cross Strike was on this video game.
Yeah, you know, shit. Crowd Strike, you know. Yeah, it's like, oh, here we go. It's this part of the game. Very interesting. All right. Thank you, Kishak. He asked us some extra questions. And remember, guys, if you guys want to keep the show going, ask us some more gaming questions. All right. Next one here. Who is the next best developer? Who is the next best developer for Halo in Microsoft's nest of developers? I think you should reword it as who should take over 343, because like saying the next best is suggesting that 343 is good. No. You know?
Yeah, it's just that they're the best, which they're not.
Yeah.
343 isn't even the next best.
No, they're not. They're not. I'm pretty sure I've answered this before, but give it to fucking id. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
It would knock it out of the park, you know? So there's my answer. What about the rest of you guys?
Honestly,
Yeah.
It could use a big franchise to work on, because like they keep making solid games. They're just not really keying off. And I feel like, you know,
What do you mean? The last two Doom games did pretty well for them.
Yeah, but what was the fucking the Brian loved the game? God damn it!
What, Wolfenstein?
No,
What, Warframe?
Rage.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah. But that was a long time ago. Like I'm talking about the recent.
It has been a long time ago.
Yeah. Like, you know, like Wolfenstein and Doom Eternal, you know, are more recent. But you are right that the last Wolfenstein did not do that well. But Doom Eternal did, and they're coming out with a new Doom next year. You know, I believe it is next year. Ooh, and that looks hype as fuck too.
Let's go.
You know.
What? Yo,
But yeah, regardless, give it to fucking id. They'll kill it.
Well, okay. So yeah, sorry, I got sidetracked. I feel like Rage is very close to a Halo game with some of the vehicle mechanics.
Yeah,
and just kind of the general the way that the whole thing handles. But yeah, like it's
okay. That's a good point.
Definitely the Doom games do well. Forgot about Wolfenstein 100% honesty. Totally forgot about Wolfenstein though.
Yeah. The last, like the first one they came out with was pretty good.
Oh, it was awesome. But then what was it? The New Order? I'm like,
yeah.
oh,
Then you kind of lost me. Yeah, exactly. You know. But yeah, I think we all agree here. It would be great.
I feel like playing a Halo game made by id would feel kind of similar to playing a Dragon Ball game made by Arc System Works.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I just feel like it'll kind of that same feeling where it's like, oh, it just kind of works.
Yeah.
It's it's exciting to have that combination.
Yeah.
I feel like
I agree with that. That's a good analogy. Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Moving on to another question from Mr. Kishak. A while ago, an Xbox spokesperson in the EMEA, that's I had to look this up. I don't know what the fuck that meant. Europe, Middle East, and Asia regions said Xbox's marketing isn't as blessed as Sony's. How do they, Microsoft, not realize how this would come off considering the amount, or actually, I don't know. I guess the person, how did they not realize how this would come off considering the amount they spent on the Activision Blizzard acquisition and Bethesda? Why is Microsoft so cheap to advertise in these regions instead of wasting time and money on limited edition controllers and Xboxes that you can only win in a raffle? I think it's one of those cases where since they historically do not do well in those regions, they don't try as much. But, you know, because we think about with Japan, right? They tried hard in Japan and it didn't take off, you know? But I do like your question. You know, it's like
they actually tried to push Game Pass in Korea.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that's gone. And
Probably nowhere.
China doesn't care.
Yeah.
I feel like the only market in Europe that works for Xbox is the UK.
Yeah.
Everything else is kind of Sony dominated. But I don't know. I mean, I get the gist of the controllers and stuff, but that shit doesn't take money from Microsoft to make. It's like
Yeah.
you'll make a controller like this, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, like a Deadpool controller and Wolverine controller. It's like, yeah, it doesn't take them much, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it's a cost benefit thing, man. Like it's the same reason so much goddamn reality show is made because it didn't cost nothing to make it.
Yeah.
You know, making a controller that's nothing. Advertising, like man, like advertising is such a huge like up to like we've seen like 50% of a game's damn budget be advertising. Like it gets absolutely ridiculous, and that's when they're choosing to make cuts like that. And unfortunately, a lot of these decisions are made on, you know, what has made money in the past, what can we put the money into, what are we getting the most out of from the least input into. And so like you can get these kind of false viewpoints of like, yeah, well, they're just putting all of this effort into all of this other stuff instead of to where it matters. Like, they're really not putting all that much effort into that other stuff. They just keep pumping that well because it keeps making them money, and they're almost zero effort. So I agree that it'd be nice to see worldwide stuff, especially since Windows is so ubiquitous. You'd think that their gaming Windows as a gaming platform would generally be more well supported, but unfortunately they lost that battle to Steam quite a while ago. And Steam, you know, if they try and leverage that away from Steam has been ready to just pivot away into Linux forever. So that thread is an empty one. So
yeah, and I feel like it, you know, having Xbox installed into every Windows machine is better advertisement than anything they could spend on. Also, just to make another analogy here, we're upcoming into a presidential election. The candidates are spending hundreds of millions of dollars in campaign ads. Most of them are going to a confined number of states and not every state. And there's a reason why not every state gets all the funding, because they already know how it's going to go.
Yeah.
So they know that it's wasted money. So for them, it's like, why put a budget into advertising in China if we're not going to get a return on investment there?
Yeah. Kishak also asked, isn't Xbox popular in Mexico? I don't know, but your question was specifically about Europe, Middle East, and whatever the fuck
Asia.
the last one. Yeah, Asia. Yeah.
It's decently popular in Mexico and Brazil. Yeah, I mean, it does have a pretty decent presence in those countries.
It also advertises there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Cool. All right. Last one here from Mr. Kishak. The Dragon Quest creator said that as graphics become more realistic, it'll be difficult to have a silent protagonist. And this, the quote, if you make a protagonist who just stands there, they will look like an idiot. Do you guys agree or disagree?
Well, the Dragon's Quest creator. Wait. The who? The Dragon's Age or Dragon's Quest?
Quest.
Quest.
Ori, I believe
Square.
his name is.
Yuji Horii.
Yeah, Yuji. Yeah, I agree with him. If you have like ultra realistic graphics and the characters just standing there, not talking, it looks a little weird. You know.
That's why you don't do a realistic looking Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
You continue to keep it stylized.
But he's talking about in general. He's talking about in general, you know?
I don't know. You know what? I disagree. I don't often play a character that is me, but the ones that I do, when I pick a voice option and they read it back in an inflection that just sounds fucking weird, there's a disconnect. I would rather just read my options, select the one that I want, and then we all just move along the conversation as if I had said that thing. And that is still technically a silent protagonist.
It's still a weird one. Because like in Zelda, Link doesn't talk, and it just seems like everybody's just sort of talking to themselves a lot. But I think also like I think it depends on the character. I mean, there's not a lot of characters right now that are really quiet, right? Like everybody has a voice of
Well,
Maybe more Japanese games have it.
Yeah, I mean, this might not be the best example, but because it's stylized. But I mean, Elden Ring, the protagonist is silent.
Silent protagonist, yeah.
But that is a very stylized looking game too, you know.
I mean, I think also the other thing is it's like, yeah, like your guy has absolutely nothing to say about all of this.
Yeah.
Everybody sort of infers from you.
Well, let me ask: Are we referring to an unvoiced protagonist or a full-on silent protagonist?
A full-on silent protagonist, yeah.
Yeah, unless they're is well. I mean, it's always been weird. But in games, especially where you have some sort of agency or can make some sort of choice, the fact that you could do all that without, I guess, expressing it through voice is it. Unless you're mute or like have had your tongue cut out or something, and even sometimes when they make a cheeky nod to it, like, oh, the strong silent type, I see, like, that's fucking weird. That's weird. That's like developmental challenge levels of weird. I don't even know how it became a trope though, because it.
Well, I was just thinking about this now, because like if you think about it, I mean there were some actual legitimate silent protagonists, but mostly I think that kind of came from when games started getting voices, because in RPGs everybody was just you have to read everything, including your character, right? And like you said, when you're talking and you select an option, your character is saying that. But obviously when you get voice acting, then and if your character doesn't say that, then it seems weird. But they are still saying it,
But here's the thing: in games like Elder Scrolls games, the choice that you make is just responded to. It's never voiced out loud.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, I mean, you have to put some imagination to it, but your character is not silent, technically speaking. Like you said, Brett, he's still talking. So yeah, but I think because you never heard that term silent protagonist during like the Nintendo and Super Nintendo era. It was when games started getting voices that you really started hearing that term,
Yeah, because even then, they would be weird for your character not to have any dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
That was just odd even back in the day. It was an odd choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the question is really about voiced protagonists instead of silent.
I don't like a voiced protagonist. That's where I know I probably stand on the weird side of this one. I like being able to make choice in video games, but I don't like my character being voiced, because it doesn't sound like, if it's supposed to be me, the person driving that video game, it doesn't sound like me. It doesn't land on the inflections that I would use. It doesn't put the right emphasis on the right syllables. Everything feels kind of a little off, and there's a disconnect there. Also, I just it's my internal monologue that is that voice, that I'm hearing it as I read, and maybe that's just because I fully have internal monologue, and some people don't. But I don't need somebody else to read off the thing that I just read in a different way. And God forbid it's you say the thing, and then the character that is you paraphrases the thing, but it's not the thing that you meant to say at all. Like, you thought it was going to be said in a completely different way. You're like, oh no, I didn't mean it to say it like that. I didn't like that. I felt like my body just said things on its own.
That happened a lot in Mass Effect.
Oh yeah. A lot of paraphrasing. Dragon Age did that as well. It's like, why are we paraphrasing here? Say the thing.
Yeah.
Also, how would you consider Fallout in this conversation? Because it does a lot of ultra realistic type of stuff.
Yeah, what do you think, Brett?
It has a silent protagonist.
Yeah, well, it's got the silent protagonist in the sense that it's non-voiced, and that's where I prefer to land. Like, I'd prefer to read my part and then have everybody else talk. That to me honestly feels more natural. Maybe that's habit, because I grew up playing video games, and to somebody else that would be shockingly weird. But to me, I hear it myself when I'm reading it, so I don't need somebody else to read it for me.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah. Chris, you got any thoughts on silent protagonists or unvoiced protagonists?
Well, going back a little bit, I think that the um the Dragon Quest creators right in terms of if you're creating a realistic game, right, it'll be very difficult to pull that off. But just don't do it. Just keep making your anime style games. I think that style of gaming is never going to go away, right? Because look, if everybody jumped off that, you know who wouldn't jump off that? Nintendo.
Yeah.
Link is never going to talk ever, right? That's never going to change. So you can do that type of stuff. You just keep your stylized things, and you have your text selection or whatever, and it affects how the game goes. But that's it. You don't need the protagonist to talk. He's just a template for you, right? Now, I did enjoy Mass Effect. Like, yeah, it was paraphrased, but yeah, Shepard did talk, right? You're just choosing what he says, how he thinks. But I think there's room for both, right? Why not both? That's how I say.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. Moving on here. The last two questions of the night, unless we get any more. I think we've done pretty well. Thank you for all those extra questions, Mr. Kishak. Tumeke, or as he calls himself now, Super Tumeke N64, which is pretty fun. Although you got to realize, whatever name I originally called you as, whatever you change your name to, I will always call you that first one. So sorry, you're always going to be Tumeke. You know.
Yeah. So if your name was Booty Buck Cheeks, you will always be Booty
Yep,
Buck.
that's it. You know. All right, man. How has gaming news and releases being kind of quiet lately impacted you guys? Are you still gaming? By that he means playing recently released games or playing older games, or have you tuned out of gaming and doing other shit? I'll go down the line here. Manny, are you playing anything?
Yeah, still playing Hyper Rush. I'm working toward the platinum trophy. Apparently, I got so close to it. So yeah.
There you go. What about you, Carlos? I already know the answer, but go ahead.
Here's my answer. So it's a really specific case in my thing. I know we haven't had any gaming announcements or anything to get excited about until Wukong comes out in August.
And we did just play Elden Ring.
Oh no, that's the thing.
Yeah,
Elden Ring, I'm still playing it.
Nice.
The Elden, but it's one of those particular scenarios where this is one of the greatest games I've ever played. So I'm exhausting the shit out of that game. I've been playing New Game Plus. I've gone through almost the entire game now. I beat most of the bosses. I still need to beat the capital and get to the mountaintops and the fire giant and then the Elden Lord and stuff. Like, I still need to do that part, but I've been going through a lot of stuff that I missed from the last one. So I've been in the original game. I've been beating all the original bosses, and I've also been doing quest lines that I didn't do last time. Like, I didn't do there's this one chick, I forgot her name, but there's this one chick that has a quest line that I didn't do, and it takes you to places where it's like, oh shit, I didn't do this before. And it's fun, man. More and more I keep asking myself the question. And I'm pretty sure some of you guys here in the chat and here in the cast have been thinking, it's like, is this the best game I've ever played?
Oh,
like I really have to.
Oh wow!
I really have to think about it. Like I'm like, because only a few games ever get to this point for me. It's like the Fallout 3s, the Mass Effect 2s, the Halo 2s. Like there's it's slim pickings, man. Like, on that Mount Rushmore, and this game has put itself on that Mount Rushmore for me. So I just I'm still playing the game. I put over 200 hours now on it, and I'm still enjoying it. So That's holding me off right now until Wukong for the moment.
Wukong?
Wukong?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to get into it because you already know my feelings about this generation. But yeah, I played Elden Ring with the fellas and had a good time. And I will be playing Wukong, which comes out pretty soon, So, obviously I'm not gaming as much as I used to. I think I've only played maybe 4 games this year. But they've been with the exception of Suicide Squad, which is absolute fucking trash. The games that I liked have been very good. Final Fantasy, Rebirth, Stellar Blade, which was stellar, and Elden Ring, and then Wukong. So Asia, thank you. You've been keeping me afloat this year because these Western games ain't doing it anymore. But yeah, in general, gaming is not my primary hobby anymore. I just play, when something kind of fancies me because, it's very, very difficult to get excited about what's happening in gaming. And on the flip side, I'm turned over to Brett, who's on the opposite end of me when it comes to his gaming this generation.
Bro, I'm still eating good. I got leftovers stacking the fridge. I got Baldur's Gate to finish, but I will start off by saying, Carlos, my man.
Hey.
Yeah, I've played same. And I think what's weird is that up on the having to ask yourself that question. I was asking myself that question when Elden Ring came out, and like the thing that got me was I was like, yo, the hype for Elden Ring is like approaching critical mass light speed. It's just, am I getting too hyped? And then it arrived, and the answer was no. I was not hyped enough somehow. And knowing that, I went in and I was like, okay. Like, I know Elden Ring has been like one of the best games I've ever played. So like logically, it's not too hard to say I should expect one of the best DLCs I've ever played. And but maybe that is dangerously hyping it. Still, somehow it surpassed my expectation again. I've been playing through Elden Ring a second time now, simply so I can go through the DLC a second time now. And man, my archaeologist ass has been going to work. Let me tell y'all, I am figuring some shit out. And I don't know about all of you, if any of you have caught anything more than the broad strokes, but it is super, super fucked up. Like way more fucked up than you even think that it is fucked up. I'm pretty sure if I'm reading the room right, it's extra super duper fucked up.
Yeah. Again, I have no input when it comes to the lore. I have no idea what's happening, but I don't care. I'm enjoying the ride. But that's cool, man. And then Chris, what about you lately, man? What do you feel about gaming? And are you gaming less or more? Like, what's going on?
Well, I've just been gaming less because there's just less to get into. I have been very disappointed by this generation. Lately, the only things I played is, I have to go back to Stellar Blade. But Stellar Blade, I played Pacific Drive, and I'm playing Elden Ring. Right? So right now I'm playing Elden Ring, and I'm doing the same thing as Carlos. I'm going around doing the quest lines I didn't do. I found the second dancing line. I was like, "There's another one of you sons of bitches out here." Yeah. And I just found a forge I never went to before. I just found a cave, and I was like, "Wait, there's a grace here I didn't pop. There's a whole cavern in here I didn't go into." So I'm enjoying the hell out of it. I agree with Carlos. Like it almost like. I can't bend my rule because it's a DLC. It doesn't count as a game to say it's game of the year, but it's fucking amazing. It is amazing. The whole experience is amazing. I look forward to things like I want to play Monster Hunter Wilds next year. I want to play Wukong, but that's about it. Like everything he said, I know Rich jokes about Concord and stuff. Western games have been trash.
They absolute
Suicide
trash.
Squad. Yeah, absolute trash. Like, I'm not playing any of that garbage. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm not looking forward to anything from like EA or Activision. Nothing. I don't care anymore. Like, I'm just looking to Japan and Korea and whatever to give me what I need because everything else is failing me, and that's why I'm playing less. Like, I know I'm busy with work and being a dad and stuff, but I still love gaming. Like, still want to play something, and nothing on our side of the fucking hemisphere is giving me anything to work with.
No, I agree, and I said this, because we kind of get a version of this question every once in a while, and the question originally was like, "Have you fallen out of gaming?" No, my answer was gaming fell out of love with me. Yeah, like I'm not really getting the kind of games I want anymore. I still love gaming, like when I was in the Elden Ring, everything stopped. I was like, I'm playing this shit right now, Same thing with Stellar Blade and all that, but. When Monster Hunter comes, you already know that's gonna take over my life.
Oh yeah.
But no, but Chris, I'm with you. Like on this side of the pond, we're not really getting the goods here, but it's okay. It's okay because Asia's holding it down. Even the fucking Chinese, we're gonna play a Chinese game soon.
Yeah, we're going back to '83 over again real
Yeah.
soon.
Oh man.
I mean, where Japan and Korea are holding up the fucking video game industry.
Yeah.
I'm like, how many people are playing Flintlock right now?
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Flintlock. Fuck out.
Another disaster.
Yeah. Concord, absolute trash. All right, and then the last question of the night, kind of similar to what we just answered. There's a lot of negativity around gaming and other entertainment, such as the direction of the MCU. Don't get me started on that. To those looking from the outside, it may seem like the industry is in a bad place. What's something positive in gaming that each of the Throwdown crew is enjoying right now, if anything? Now I'll go in reverse. So, Chris, you start us off first.
What's something positive in gaming? I don't know, Elden Ring and Japan pulling the fucking industry up on its shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
It just kind of went over that. Like it's Japan and Korea, that's games I'm looking forward to, even China, so that's it. I'm like, oh, what am I looking forward to next year? Monster Hunter, right?
Yep.
Who makes that? Capcom. What else you looking forward to? Wukong, China, Stellar Blade, Korea. That's it. Like, I don't have much else to look forward to. Like, one indie game that was made here, Pacific Drive. Yeah, it was all right. I wouldn't recommend it. It's just like I enjoyed it. But that's it. Like, everything else coming out over here. I don't care about many big franchises. I don't care about Call of Duty. I'm not playing Overwatch. I'm not playing any of that shit. I just want a nice story, single player narrative, but also you can enjoy it with your boys. And here's the thing. I'm not even looking forward to GTA 6. I have no faith that game
I don't blame you.
I don't
blame you. Yeah.
Yeah, story-wise, I don't think it's going to be solid.
Yeah. I'm very wary with that game. I don't think. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. All right. Moving on here, Brett. What's a positive thing happening in gaming right now?
I mean, I feel like despite there being less games and like we have had an ocean of shit, but there have been really great pearls in there. And between like Elden Ring and a DLC, shit like Baldur's Gate and Last Remnant, I feel like I've played some of my favorite games that I can think of within the last handful of years. And that should be the trajectory that gaming is taking in general. You think they learn from the last things they did. We get more power, better hardware, more experience. Better created companies. Theoretically, that should be the way that it goes. Unfortunately, life a lot of times goes the other way. But I will say, some of the best games that I've played have been in recent memory. So while everybody isn't moving in the right direction, some people are, and those some people have definitely got a lot of notice in that same handful of years, last handful of years. So it's the ship of the gaming industry takes forever to turn, right? So I think that the days of, let's see how many microtransactions and what have you, I think that's gone. I think when Sony canceled all those free-to-play games, or all those live service games, excuse me, that was kind of the end of an era. It's going to take a while for that to show, but you don't just cancel half a dozen big projects. Like, that is an insane amount of money to flush down the toilet. And that lost cost fallacy would dictate that once that gets some momentum, it would be hard to stop that, because, how are you going to justify all that money that you've spent, even if you're saving more by, not putting out a failure? That's Redfall is evidence of that. So to kind of do that, Sony had to see the writing on the wall, and they flushed a lot of money down the toilet, even if they were early in development. So I feel like that really shows that maybe, just maybe, we've put the worst of it behind us. Maybe I'm being too much of an optimist on that one, but I'm really hoping that between seeing how terribly things like the Suicide Squad have failed and how amazingly things like Baldur's Gate have succeeded, that they're starting to figure out that just milking stuff relentlessly isn't a great way to actually turn a profit.
Yeah. Yeah, my answer is pretty much Chris's. Like, Asian developers are saving the industry right now. They're holding it up because these Westerners aren't doing it. Not with shit like Concord, and fucking Red Fail and shit like that. Nonsense games. So I don't really have much to add to that. What about you, Carlos? What's a positive thing you say about the current state of gaming?
I think I'll go, since Tony went the direction of Chris, I'll go to the direction of Brett. Everybody who's listened to this show long enough knows my stance with gaming recently, and when I say recently, I mean starting with last generation. And that's even gotten worse in this generation. I feel like everyone caught up to the train, but I will say, going with Brett's answer, I feel like even with this whole a large pile of crap that we get in the video game industry, there are a lot of great, I wouldn't say hidden, but gems that are worth taking with you for the rest of your life, in terms of your video game story. And I just talked about Elden Ring. Elden Ring might be one of the best games, if not the best game I've ever played, in my opinion. So I'll take that. Cyberpunk, I had to wait for it to get fixed, but after I played with it when it was fixed, one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. Monster Hunter World, one of the best gaming experiences I've ever had. God of War Ragnarok, one of the best games I've ever played. These are games that I would put in my top 50 if I were to make a list. And these are fairly recent games. They're not from the last 2 years, but they're from the last half decade to a little bit more, but they're fairly recent. So yeah, even though and here's the thing, video games has never been my main hobby. It might have been my main hobby for like a few years of my life. It's always been something that I did. So I don't really mind, or I don't really look down on not spending as much time playing video games as I used to. That's not something that I lament. So I being able to play 2 or 3 video games a year, and all those 3-4 video games that I play that year being really positive, really significant, really great games that I'm supporting, that's all fine and dandy with me. I know that it's unlikely that we'll get a 2007 ever again, or 2017. So I have no qualms with just experiencing what we have, because I kind of made up my mind that that's how it's going to be. So with the fact that there are games worth playing these days, and honestly, we talk about great video games from the past, in the history of video games, playing Elden Ring and having Elden Ring as a video game that came out in 2022 and being part of that pantheon for me is something to be proud about. it's a game that I'm proud to have played. So, that's my positivity.
Cool. Right, Manny, what's a positive thing you can say about the current state of gaming?
I mean, just the resurgence of voices, and that we haven't heard in a while, for some ever. I mean, you have China actually coming out and doing a really significant looking, like title that looks just as good as any of the big AAA companies in the States or Japan. Then you have a Korean game, which just with Stellar Blade. So it's like you're definitely seeing these sort of countries sort of that don't usually think of with gaming coming out with these very significant looking titles. That's the big two right for now. Like,
Yeah.
I can't say that I'm really that excited for really anything that's. I mean, Japan's doing their thing. They're doing their thing, but I feel like I'm interested in more Japanese games than I am mostly Western games. So that's different for me now. Like,
Cool.
I think those are the two big things right now.
Yeah.
So I definitely like to see some more Korean studios sort of coming out there and doing some things that, like, I don't know, you look at it like the guy who created that game, right? The last, I mean, like, significant title that he had been a part of, which was Magna Carta. Like, that's a PlayStation 2 title. That guy has been working in the game industry for years, but that's the last of the sort of console games he had ever worked on, which is insane.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, cool. And then we got another question here. Thank you, foolish people. Kind of related to what we've been talking about. Do you guys have any thoughts on how video games have gotten to the point where it's no longer a primary hobby for a lot of people? I'm going to say this, Brett, you kind of touched on it. It's like you kind of have been getting these games that aren't really taking any risks. They're just kind of cookie cutter, repeating the same stuff. And Chris, to borrow one of yours, Applebee's of gaming. Every game needs to have everything in it, so you don't have a focused vision anymore. But when you try to make something for everybody, you make something for nobody. So that's a big deal right there. Just the fact that a lot, at least with the AAA space, you're not getting any, like, you are getting a new franchise every once in a while, but for the most part, it's just reiterations, remasters, remakes, safe shit. That's been ruined. There's also, by the way, that's my safe answer, because there is something else I want to talk about, but I'm not going to get into it here. Political shit. But that is a big problem. Again, our boy Sean Layton talked about this. These budgets are getting too damn high, and it's not sustainable. You take 5 years to make a fucking game that costs $200-300 million. So you need to make it for as many people as possible for it to get your money back, but that's not always a guarantee. We've seen some epic failures lately, especially when you're trying to taste a live service fucking dragon, So, yeah, I guess to sum it all up, lack of innovation in the AAA space is a big contributing factor. People like me, I'm like, I think I'm good, because I've mostly, the games I've played the most have been indie games as a game reviewer, but those games aren't for me. That's like me just eating fucking salmon and shit. Okay, maybe I can eat some good salmon, but I don't like salmon. It's just, you can't get away from what you like. And indie games, that's where the real innovation comes, but they don't excite the people like the way a big AAA does. So yeah, it's just, they're too, again, they're playing it too fucking safe. But this, we talked about this before, What about the rest of you guys? What do you think is, kind of hurting the industry right now, where people are not as excited about it as they used to be?
Go ahead,
Chris.
Carlos, you go first.
I've mentioned this plenty of times during previous podcasts. I just feel like games are not made from inspiration. They're made more for profit. I mean, back in the day, it was just a whole bunch of nerds making video games that were passionate about making video games. The John Carmacks, the Kojimas, even David Jaffe's of the world, and Cliffy B, and all those people. Like, it was just a whole bunch of people that coalesced and joined this medium that was still really new, to make video games. That's something that were passionate. And these were people not only that created the stories, they also developed the games, like made the code and created the framework for the game. And it was a whole bunch of people that were multi-talented and did it just because they were passionate about making video games. But now it's a business. It's more of a business, and most of the games that people make are made, and you guys mentioned this early in the show, it's made by committees for the most part. If the video game doesn't have XXXX, microtransactions, loot boxes, this multiplayer or whatever, if it doesn't have that, then by definition it can't be successful, according to them. And that's just one of the reasons why video games are not that successful anymore. It's not successful in terms of us appreciating them like we used to. They're not made by creatives who have visions of making a world. It's more of committees with visions of making money. And obviously there was always a profit motive for these creators even in the beginning, but these days it's mostly just that. You do have your exceptions, like there always is, but it's a gaming is there's a reason why video games has become the most successful medium out there, the most profitable medium out there. And that's where the fucking sharks come in. And we're infested by a whole bunch of sharks right now.
Yeah. All right. What about the rest of you guys? What do you think is making gaming not as exciting for some people? Actually, Chris, you were going to go, right? So go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say I agree with you with the kind of the stagnation of creativity, like execs wanting to play it safe, moving towards live services away from big narrative-driven stories. Microtransactions, things like that. Just people are just burnt out, on that crap. And as they can't find anything just as simple, easy to get into. It's like, oh, I need loot boxes, need all this shit, need battle passes and season passes and all this stuff. It's like nobody wants that shit anymore. It's like, can we just go back to when you bought the game and you got like a complete experience? It's fine to get DLC, but this like effort to create a giant game and then chop it up into pieces and block it behind season passes and battle passes, whatever. It's just exhausting, and people don't want to deal with this shit anymore. Now, some people do, some people like it, but I don't. Most don't. I don't. And I think once you just get the same thing over and over again, like I know people. I often say people don't like change, but you can only take that so much. You can only watch the same movie or listen to the same song or play the same game over and over again before you're like, I need something different, right? But the AAA guys aren't giving that to you because they think that's what you want, and they're just going to keep churning that out year after year. So people move to indie titles and AA and all this stuff, and that's why those are expanding and booming. Like I see a whole bunch of indie games exploding now on the market, and they're actually pretty good. I mean, they're not polished or anything, but they're actually decent. So there's that, and then there's honestly there's narrative ruining things. I don't know, a certain company, let's call them Saccharine Infant, which is pushing kind of ideology into the narratives of certain games. That could be a problem. Could be why we're looking to Asia for our salvation in that.
Yeah, so far they've done a pretty good job of that,
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Anybody else? Brett, any thoughts on why gaming has kind of fallen off with some people?
Shareholders.
Oh, shit. Yeah. All right. You could expand on that if you want. Although I think that says it all. Yeah, to be honest.
Yeah, just like shareholders mean that, it's, without shareholders like Bonus did, for example, right? Like they're just happy that the game sold as well as it did. They would have been happy with 10% of that. They, there wasn't a super high bar they had to hit, and as such, they didn't have to make a lot of decisions that would have drained the creativity out of that game by having to chase after a bigger audience. And by doing that, they got to focus on the quality and the love of what they wanted to do. And turns out the big audience, showed up for that. So I think a lot of times, even with the problem with, shareholders is it's not about doing good enough. It's about doing better than last time. And, full tinfoil hat like that creates this weird, ever hungry amalgamous thing that is not responsible to anybody and is never satisfied, which is like this weird eldritch Cthulhu-esque horror in my book. Like, just honestly the whole thing of shareholders is a weird, horrifying concept if you think about it too hard, but it tends to drive creative bankruptcy. All the things that we're talking about, I feel can be brought directly back to shareholders being shareholders. Good is never good enough, because otherwise we might just have a bunch of really great companies making really great games that, sometimes really great was good enough. They didn't have to try and be Fortnite instead.
Yeah. And to your point, we previously mentioned how we really love Celebrate, but a lot of people were very upset when Shift Up became publicly traded, like about a month ago, because now they feel like, oh, fuck, shareholders are going to come in and possibly fuck things up, so we'll see.
That's a very, very real possibility.
Yeah. I mean, those people are right to be worried, man, so we'll see. All right, I think that's going to do it for us. Another good show. And, we actually came in close to an hour and a half, which is kind of always my minimum goal. So I'm happy about that. All right, Manny, what you got?
Right now, I mean, everything's out in the field. You'll just go to your local comic book store, Ninja Turtles #1 and 40th anniversary of Ninja Turtles all on the shelves. So that's it for now.
Good stuff. And even though Rich isn't here, make sure you follow the Coalition, thecoalition.com. There's Coalition with a K. And also hit up the Coalition over on the YouTubes for more content, people. I don't know what they have coming up, but, it's always good stuff over there on the Coalition. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to Otaku Man, Foolish Pupil, Kiss Shack, Barry Burton, Tumeke, all the guys holding it down in the chat, Anyway, we're done here, so make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Join the Discord where the conversations, the rumors are always popping. You could also find Throwdown on any podcast app. That's Throwdown Show, 2 words, Throwdown Show, throwdownshow.com to listen to past episodes. And if you are watching us on YouTube, like Reggie Butler is right now, he goes, RJD, baby. He's happy about the Dr. Doom news, obviously. So yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube, you like the video, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of when we go live. Links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
And Brett Murdoch.
Deuces.
All right, until Thursday, we will say bye, bye, bye. So we will see you then. Later.
Peace.